And I just don't want to see Notre Dame lay an egg on national TV. Like this season has been bad enough, and I don't need that in my life. And I'm not sure USC really is that good, to be honest. Like
USC should have lost to Arizona State,
yeah,
and they should have lost to UCLA. They just got lucky and outscored them in the end.
Yeah, and DBs have been their tragic flaw for a while, so I don't really want to see USC, even though I always root for the Pac-12. And I have family ties in Oregon, so. But yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is I just want to see 2-3 good games, because everything else that I've been flipping through the channels on this past college football season hasn't been that great, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I do want to see Clemson play Notre Dame again, because I think a lot of people be like, "Oh, they didn't get him without Trevor Lawrence." Well, let's see that. Let's make that happen, so no one can say anything about that.
Now, is Clemson in the playoff with 2 losses theoretically?
I would say no.
Yeah.
So then who would be your top 4? If they lose this weekend on Saturday, obviously you have – would you even put Notre Dame above Alabama at that point, with the same kind of question?
Yeah, and I've been hearing a lot about even like Iowa State, Cincinnati, Coastal Carolina, like those 2 undefeated teams have been talked about, even though they're not even though they don't gain the same attention as the other programs we're talking about, like Clemson and Notre Dame.
Yeah, I would say either Iowa State or Texas A&M. If those 2 went out, I would go with one of them and replace Clemson. But I still would go Bama number 1. As much as I can't stand the SEC, I think that is the strongest football conference, at least this year.
All right. And K-Win, probably one of the last questions I got for you. NFC West, is it the best conference or division in the NFL? And if so, which team are you most afraid of getting beat in the playoffs?
So I definitely think it is the best division. And going into this year, we made fun of the Rams because they didn't really do that much, or what it seemed like they didn't do that much. But if you go back and look, they were banged up in the second half of last year, so they couldn't run the ball. And now they can run the ball. They can control the tempo. And that defense with Darnold and Ramsey, like they shut down DK Metcalf. They shut down Hopkins.
How did the NFL let them get 2 of the best players in?
Yeah, I don't know defense. How. So, I mean, I would say the Rams and the Seahawks, but the Saints. I'd say the Rams, Seahawks, and the Saints. In my mind, those are the top 3 in the NFC. I would give a slight edge to the Rams just because they have a better defense and a better running game than the Seahawks. But you get Russ in a playoff, anything can happen. That guy, when he gets cooking, he's fun to watch.
Well, I hate to give him any gas, but, I mean, you got Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay right now, and they're actually sitting in first place with that first-round bye.
Yeah.
They're a serious contender this year for the NFC Championship, if not the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I love Rodgers. I don't know. The Packers, I feel like they never show up in the playoffs. Like
that's what I'm thinking too, especially with that bye. I don't know. They're a team that needs to keep playing. Like they need to wear on other teams, and they're gonna play better in the cold.
Yeah.
All right, K-Win. So before we let you go, why don't you go ahead and plug your social channels? Let people know where they can find you and what you got coming up on WST.
Yeah, thanks for having us on the show. We follow you guys too. This is much an honor, so thanks for having us on the show. You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We're at WST_podcast. You can download, subscribe, follow us everywhere you get your podcasts, Stitcher, iHeart, Spotify, iTunes. I may even missed a couple. Upcoming this week, we've got Bricks Picks. We've got this 4-year-old from Missoula, Montana. We're so tired of the Pac-12. We have him pick the winners, and we'll give you more sports. We'll give you more West Coast. We call it the Western Standard 6. That's the Cardinals, Rams, Chargers, Raiders, Niners, Seahawks. That's all we care about.
Amen.
West Coast, baby.
All right, man. Well, stay good to you and yours. Send our peace and love to Big Ben as well.
All right. Well, yeah, let me know when this comes out. We'll promote it on our social channels and get the word out to our fans to listen in.
Sounds good, brother.
All right. Be good.
Peace. All right, man. So that was K Win from the WST podcast. Shout out to him. Shout out to that whole team over there. Like I said, I've been following them for a minute. Y'all know I love any chance to talk to a fellow West Coast sports advocate. And do we have another caller here on the line who's for some reason blowing up the chat like an awkward ninth grader who doesn't want to turn on his camera in third period?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, Kenny?
Kenny?
Are you in an Uber?
Are you still in Moscow?
I'm somewhere in Lawndale. Just took my COVID-19 test. I'll turn on this light in a minute. Yeah, I am waiting on the Uber right now.
Doesn't sound like you have a mask on, and I hoped you washed your hands walking out of that place, because by your visualizations, it seems like if you didn't have it, you definitely do now.
Yeah. It's like Max Fury Thunderdome of COVID-19.
Oh, we got a special feature with the Uber driver.
Hey, you should ask him a couple of questions about tonight's football game.
We should just have him pick the college football playoff. Hey, Uber driver, what's your college football playoff?
I'm not doing that. That's kind of good down.
But yeah, man. Outside of us dealing with our own COVID situation going on over here, college football has been a mess, which we talked about a little bit. But one bright spot, or a couple bright spots this week, the Monday Night Football game was actually good, even though that last safety swung like hundreds of millions of dollars because of the spread. But yeah, we don't got to talk about how the NFL's rigged. Outside of that, man, what did you guys make of that game if you watched it? One, and two. First, let's start with that, and then I'll ask my two follow-up questions.
I thought it was a great game. I was actually watching the game with my wife, and knowing that the Browns just a few years ago went
0-14.
0-14. Now they are battling for. Are they even with the loss? They're still in a playoff kind of run still, right?
Yeah, them beating the fucking Ravens would have helped the Raiders, but whatever. Shout out to Baker.
But I thought it was great, but it's so. It showed, though, they didn't have an answer for the reigning MVP. It's just when he went out, then there was a glimmer of hope. But once he came back in, he just smeared it all over them. And
it just reminded me of, like, those games LeBron has when, like, everyone's like, oh, LeBron is washed. LeBron is passing too much. He needs to start scoring. LeBron isn't playing defense. And then he just comes out and drops like a quick 20 in the first half. And the next thing you know, he has a quiet 32 with the triple-double. And you're just like, yeah, he's that great. That's kind of what I saw from Lamar Jackson, was like, yeah, actually I can run and also throw the ball. And yeah, I can lead this average defense, this slightly above average running game with above average receivers, and maybe potentially get deep in the playoffs again.
I think they'll go deep in the playoffs, but I still think it's the Chiefs to beat the AFC this year.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, the other thing that came from that game, a couple things, but like I was gonna save this for touchdown or turnover, but I'll just say now, like, what do you guys make of Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson's like being homies? Like, is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, is it just kind of the way of the times, or should those AFC North rivals like fucking hate each other and not shake hands midfield?
Careers are like permanently connected because of the Heisman, so it's only kind of natural. Like Baker only was a Heisman, but Lamar actually had a better season when he lost the Heisman than he did when he first won it. Like the year before he came out of college, that was his best year statistically as a passer and running. So I mean, they're just forever connected. So that's cool. And the new era of quarterbacks, they want to see each other win. Shout out to Deshaun Watson.
I think it also has something to do with, I don't know, like both of them have been billed as both the hero and the heel. So I feel like that's also something that they kind of can bond over.
I think like people wanted Lamar to be a villain.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but he's not. He's a hero.
Baker was a villain.
And Baker was a hero, but then he became a heel, and now he's just kind of like Baker.
Baker was always kind of seen as a villain at some point.
Nah, but then he had that after his rookie season, he was in all those commercials, and they were kind of like trying to make him, like a face. And then he came out and was mediocre, and then everyone was like, "Oh, Baker sucks." And then he was kind of like, "Fuck you guys." And now he's just kind of like, it is what it is.
Baker's that guy that like kind of wants to tell you like "fuck you" to your face. He's just he's a shit talker, and that's his swag, and that's what he does. And you could like it or not, but like there's even this little viral GIF that's online where there's a defensive line that shifts, and he right before he hikes the ball is like, "Oh, that's fucking cute." That's just Baker, and he's easy to dislike, but he backs it up every now and then. But he hasn't had the smoothest ride in his first couple of years in the NFL, but he is competing, and nevertheless, he plays for the Browns, who have a winning season so far.
And you have some
factor in that he literally was a walk-on in college. Like he earned it all and got screwed over by Cramp. Like it hasn't been roses with him, and it's like that's what turned him into what he is what happened to him in college. That was his experience. And for all of us, you go through a certain point in your life where everything around you kind of either breaks you or it makes you. So,
and it seems like throughout his career, he's always had people hating on him. I mean, even
fuck
clip.
Go ahead. Sorry.
You watched the game, but he had that viral clip of having a handshake with the Kansas University players, and they wouldn't shake his hand, and he's like, "Oh, that's how it's going to be." And then there's viral clips of him just talking shit about how they're a basketball school and not a football school, and go back to playing basketball.
They lost by like 60 that game.
Yeah.
And 0-9 this year. So yeah, they are a basketball school.
Yeah.
It depends on who says it.
All right, and the other thing that sparked up from the game after the fact was that picture popped up of Marcus Peters, our boy, Oakland native, pretty much spitting on Jarvis Landry, the original Slant Boy. So Kenny, after the fact, Landry was like, if he wants beef, he can have it. So what do you make of that whole situation, and who do you got in the Peters Landry beef?
Checking my fellow Bay Area brethren, Marcus Peters, because he ain't never been like that. I think that was an out of context situation because he's not known for spitting on people. Sometimes when he talks, spit comes out of his mouth, but I think people spit on the football field all the time. I don't think it was purposeful. He spit at his back like.
The right place,
my friend. Yep, thank you, sir.
No, you're welcome. Have a nice night.
Shout out to my Uber driver.
Yeah, but he gets a 5-star rating for listening to you talk on the phone like that.